Hello, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Dani and today I have a book tag for you. I wasn't tagged to do this tag, but it was recommended to me by a subscriber on the Discord, so if you have video suggestions for me as well, be sure to join the Discord and just chat with us and suggest videos for me. So this tag is called the Greek Gods book tag, and it was created by Reading Every Night, a blog that I'm going to leave the link in the description, so be sure to check it out. And I haven't planned these questions, but I just read Lore really recently, and I thought it would be a fun time to do a tag about Greek gods. So let's start. The first one is Zeus, King of the Gods, or your favorite book. This is hard, like your favorite book. It's a bit hard to answer, but just from the top of my head, the answer that always comes to mind and the book that I will always be happy to reread is Nevermore, The Trials of Morgan Crow by Jessica Townsend. It's a middle grade fantasy that it's here on the top. You can see the first 3 books there. And it's just a series that I adore. I have so much fun. I think it's so whimsical and magical and just a fun time. And very beautifully written. I love the humor of that book. And it's probably my favorite book, yes. Next we have Hera. Hera? I don't think I've ever had to say the names of Greek gods in English. I know how to say them in Portuguese, so I'm sorry if I'm saying the names of the gods wrong, but I'm going with my gut feeling here. Hera, Queen of the Gods, or a badass female character. For this, I'm going to choose Izumi from Fullmetal Alchemist. She is badass. All the characters of this book, of this whole series, are so well written, are some of my favorite characters ever, and this character, she is the sensei, the teacher that teaches Alphonse and Edward Eric when they're little, and I just love her. There's some scenes from the past that shows how great she is as a teacher, but also some in the present that shows her being vulnerable and some mistakes that she made, but also she's just really badass, and I really recommend the series for everyone who's looking for amazing characters. Next we have Janus, God of Beginnings. I don't even think I knew about this god before, but there we go. So your favorite debut? The first one that comes to mind, well, the first one that came to mind was a favorite first book in a series, but not a debut novel. But the first debut novel that comes to mind is Crown of Feathers by Nikki Palpretto. Fantasy YA about Phoenix Riders, and it's just, again, so much fun. It's just so well written, and it gripped me so much from the beginning of the book, and I just loved it, and I can't wait for the 3rd book of the trilogy this year. Next we have Athena, Goddess of Wisdom, your favorite nonfiction book. I don't think I've ever read a nonfiction that stayed with me so much that I would remember it from the top of my head. Most of the nonfiction that I read are audiobooks, I think, or ebooks, so I don't have them here on my shelf to recommend. I have the perfect answer for this. One of my favorite nonfictions that I read recently, and I would recommend to everyone, children and adults, is Greek Myths by Janus. This is about Greek mythology. I really do love Greek mythology, although lore, like I said, I just read recently, wasn't my thing so much, but this is really good. This is a nonfiction written for children, but I think it appeals to anyone who likes Greek myths, and it's very colorful, it's very well written and well described, and I think this is the best nonfiction to recommend for this tag. Next we have Aphrodite, Goddess of Love, a book you adore and recommend everyone read. I think the book that I recommend the most for people to read is Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. It's a very scientific heavy sci-fi, but it's just really good. It's really, again, well crafted, and just really love it. It's a sci-fi thriller almost, and it's one that I would still like to reread, but I definitely recommend to everyone. Next we have Hades, God of the Underworld, an evil book you wish didn't exist. I wish didn't exist? That's a very strong statement. There are lots of books that I didn't like, I didn't enjoy them, but I don't know if I wish they never existed. For example, the worst book that I read this year, the one that I disliked the most, was Frankenstein, but it's a huge staple in the genre, and I definitely don't wish for it to never have existed. So I don't think I have an answer for this one. Next one, Poseidon, God of the Sea and Earthquakes. A beautiful and groundbreaking book. I'm going to go with a book that the last book that I finished, which is The Ones We're Meant to Find by John E. And this is definitely a beautiful book. It's about two sisters who are separated and they kind of are trying to find their way to each other. And it talks a lot about climate change as well. It's not the main focus of the book by any means, but it talks about it, and there are even earthquakes in this book. But I do think it is groundbreaking. It's very different from everything that I've read recently or in the past, but it's just beautiful. Everything fits together so well in the end, and I would definitely recommend this book a lot. It was complete 5 stars for me, and I think this would fit this category. Next one is Apollo, God of the Arts, a beautiful book cover. Oh, I have a lot of these. Just going to pick randomly one of my favorite covers that I have, and it's from Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. This is the UK edition. I bought the UK edition because of the cover, because it's so much prettier than the American edition, and it is really gorgeous. Like, I love the framing of the whole cover, the golden things, and like just the scene that's happening here. I think this is one of the most beautiful covers of books that I have, and definitely one that I bought this specific edition because of the cover. Next one is Hypnos, God of Sleep. A book so boring you almost fell asleep. There are a lot of books that make me fall asleep, even if they're good, but let me think of a very boring book. Actually, we can go back to Frankenstein for this one. That was boring. I understand the idea, I understand why it became a classic, especially on the influence that it had on other books, but it's boring. I just don't recommend anyone to read. I know there's a graphic novel, maybe that's better, but I don't recommend anyone to read the actual book unless they really like classics and that language that, like, it takes 3 pages to say something that you could have said in a paragraph, and it was just really, really boring. And the last one is Hermes, Messenger of the Gods, a book you sped through. The book that I read the fastest, I think, was Horrid by Katrina Leno. It was my favorite book from last year. It was a book that I read in 2 days and just didn't even see that I was going that fast, and I just was loving everything that was happening, and I was so immersed in it that I just couldn't stop. So, Horrid. That's a book that I sped through for sure. And that's it for this tag. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any more suggestions of tags or other videos that you want me to do, leave it in the comments, but also join our Discord and let me know there what you would like me to film. Remember to like this video and subscribe to my channel, and thank you so much for joining me. Bye!